Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We always try to look ahead and spot those trends and opportunities that are just over the horizon. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at some pretty mind-blowing predictions about 2025.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, buckle up, because we're going to be exploring a YouTube video titled "The One Skill That Will Increase Your Income in 2025 Skill Hacks."
Okay.
It's by Yahya Amin, and he interviews economist Elias Ali, who paints a really fascinating picture of the future.
I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, me too. And the really fascinating part is where artificial intelligence and geopolitics kind of, come together and collide. So are you ready to see what the world might look like in just a couple of years in 2025?
Absolutely. I think a lot of our listeners are probably wondering, what's in store for them? What changes are coming? What they need to be prepared for?
Right. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was Elias Ali's prediction about the scale of investment in AI.
Okay.
He says that by 2025, big tech companies will be investing an amount that actually exceeds the entire GDP of Norway.
Wow, that's a pretty stunning comparison.
But it is, right? Think about that for a second.
Yeah, Norway's economy is, bigger than most countries. So to have that level of investment poured into just one area like AI, that's a major signal.
Right.
It's like they're betting big on this, that this is going to be the next big thing.
Absolutely. And I think they're probably right. And what's really interesting is that he specifically mentions the military.
Oh, wow.
Which, when you think about it, it makes sense. AI could, totally revolutionize warfare in ways that we can't even really imagine yet.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, right?
Oh, yeah.
You think about the possibilities like autonomous drones and AI-powered cyber attacks.
Right. Or even, AI controlling entire weapons systems.
It's a whole different level of warfare.
It's both exciting and a little bit scary.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes you wonder, are we ready for this?
Are we prepared for the speed of these advancements?
Yeah, the implications they'll have on our lives and, really everything,
Yeah, it's a valid concern. And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about who controls it, how it's used.
Right.
And Ali, he also talks about the influence of these financial giants like BlackRock and Vanguard.
Oh, yeah.
These companies, they manage trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
We're talking more than the GDP of most countries combined.
That's insane.
It is. And they're predicting some pretty significant shifts in the global power landscape, too.
So not only are we seeing this massive investment in AI from these, tech giants, but these big financial institutions are also seeing changes on the horizon. So what kind of shifts are they talking about?
Well, they're saying we should anticipate more tension between the U.S. and China, and that could have ripple effects across the entire global economy.
Yeah, that makes sense when you think about it. It's not just political posturing anymore. It's about economic dominance and trade routes and the entire balance of power could shift.
Exactly. The stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting. Ali predicts that the war in Ukraine could actually end in 2025.
Right.
Due to U.S. policy changes, especially if Donald Trump were to regain power.
That would be a pretty major development.
Yeah, and he believes that this would be a significant geopolitical loss for the U.S.
And it would have huge implications for the rest of the world, too, right? Think about the consequences of such a power shift.
Absolutely. It could affect everything from economies and trade to international relations and, even our own personal finances.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It is. And speaking of potential upheaval, Ali also predicts that the Middle East is going to be really turbulent in 2025.
Oh, boy.
He suggests that major power struggles are brewing, which could lead to leadership changes in several countries.
Can he be more specific? Which countries are we talking about here?
He actually mentions a few by name. He talks about the possibility of Prime Minister Netanyahu's fall in Israel, President Sisi's potential downfall in Egypt.
Wow.
And just increased uncertainty and risks in Syria and Libya.
That whole region has been a powder keg for so long.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine it getting any more volatile.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he also emphasizes the importance of Saudi Arabia and Turkey aligning their interests.
Well, that's interesting, particularly for Muslim nations, right?
Exactly. He sees that alignment as being really crucial for stability and progress in the region.
It sounds like he's painting a pretty complex picture of the Middle East.
It is very, very complex. And, bringing things a little closer to home, Ali also shares his predictions for Bangladesh in 2025.
Okay, I'm curious to hear about this.
Yeah, so he doesn't think that there will be any elections in Bangladesh in 2025, which could lead to, unrest from groups who are demanding democratic processes.
Yeah, that makes people want to have their voices heard.
Right. And so he predicts that the economy in Bangladesh is likely to stagnate, with limited job growth and investment opportunities.
So that means people might face challenges in finding jobs, improving their economic situation.
Exactly. And he also points to this continued tension with neighboring countries like India and Myanmar.
So it sounds like a potentially difficult situation for Bangladesh, both internally and with its neighbors.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle. And, it sounds like 2025 could be a year of uncertainty and upheaval for many parts of the world. But, Ali doesn't just focus on the problems. He also offers a solution, like a way to thrive amidst all this change.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the secret?
Well, throughout the video, he keeps coming back to this idea of acquiring one crucial skill for anyone who wants to succeed in 2025 and beyond.
Okay, lay it on me.
Artificial intelligence.
AI, huh? So it's not enough to just understand what's coming. You have to be able to use it to your advantage.
Exactly. He sees it as like a fundamental skill for the future. It's not just a tech skill anymore.
So it's not just for the coders and the techies out there.
Nope. He's saying that it's going to be a game changer across the board.
That's a bold statement. I mean, we're really talking about every single profession.
He seems to think so. And, when you think about it, we're already seeing examples of AI transforming industries. Like, software companies are replacing entire teams with AI-powered solutions, and content creators are using AI to just work faster and more efficiently.
Can you give me some specific examples? I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around how this would affect, say, someone who works in marketing or finance.
Sure. So in marketing, for instance, AI is being used to personalize ad campaigns and analyze all that consumer data and even create content. And then in finance, AI is being used to detect fraud, manage investments, and make trading decisions.
So what you're saying is that even if you don't work directly in AI development, you're still going to be impacted by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ali's point is that if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you need to start learning about AI now.
It sounds like he's saying that AI is not just a skill for the future. It's like a survival skill. Like if you don't learn it, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We're already outsourcing so many tasks to algorithms, Imagine what happens when AI becomes even more sophisticated.
It's a little bit scary, to be honest, but also kind of exciting. Like it feels like we're on the edge of something really big.
Totally. And remember, AI isn't just about replacing jobs. It also has the potential to, solve some of the world's biggest problems, like climate change, healthcare poverty.
That's a much more optimistic way to look at it. So it sounds like AI is this incredibly powerful tool that can be used for both good and bad. It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
Exactly. And that's why I think Ali's predictions are so interesting. He's not just talking about technology. He's talking about, the future of humanity.
So to bring it back to our listeners, what's the key takeaway from all of this?
The key takeaway is that the future is not set in stone. It's being shaped right now by the decisions we make and the actions that we take.
So it's not just about passively waiting to see what happens. It's about taking control and shaping the future we want.
Exactly. And that's why understanding these trends, especially the rise of AI, is so important. It gives us the foresight to make informed decisions both personally and professionally.
Ali's predictions about AI geopolitics and specific countries like Bangladesh paint a pretty vivid picture of the challenges and opportunities that are coming our way.
Right. It's not just about knowing what might happen, but asking yourself, what role do I want to play in shaping this future?
That's a great question. It really shifts the focus from just being an observer to being an active participant.
Yeah.
And it leads us back to Ali's emphasis on learning AI skills.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we dive deeper into AI and what it means for you, let's take a quick pause and come back to explore this in more detail.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how Ali is really emphasizing the importance of AI.
Yeah, it's interesting how he doesn't just, say learn to code or something like that. It's specifically AI that he keeps coming back to.
Yeah, he really sees it as the key to success in 2025 and beyond.
But why AI? What makes it so special?
Well, Ali's argument is that people who master AI tools are going to have a huge advantage over those who don't.
Even in fields that aren't directly related to technology.
Exactly. He's basically saying that AI is going to change the game across the board.
So it's not just for the techies?
Nope, not at all. Think about it. We're already seeing examples of AI completely transforming industries.
Like what?
Well, software companies are using AI to replace entire teams with these AI-powered solutions.
Okay.
And then content creators are using AI to speed up their workflows and make things more efficient.
Can you give me a specific example? How would this play out in, say, marketing or finance?
Sure. In marketing, AI is being used to personalize advertising campaigns, analyze all that consumer data, and even create content.
Wow.
And in finance, AI is being used to detect fraud, manage investments, and make trading decisions.
So no matter what field you're in, AI is going to have an impact.
Yeah, it's pretty much unavoidable at this point.
So what's the takeaway here for our listeners?
The takeaway is that if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you need to start learning about AI now.
Okay, but how? Where do you even begin?
Well, Ollie suggests dedicating at least 30 minutes a day to learning these new skills.
30 minutes? That's doable.
Right. It's not like you have to quit your job and go back to school.
So where would you recommend someone start?
There are tons of great resources online. Ollie mentions ChatGPT Canva and Facebook's Llama as good starting points.
I've heard of ChatGPT. It's like that chat bot that can write anything, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And Canva is a great tool for creating visuals. And Llama is a more advanced AI model that Facebook developed.
It sounds like there's something for everyone.
Yeah, the key is to just dive in and start exploring.
It's almost like Ollie's saying that AI isn't just a skill for the future, it's a survival skill.
Right, like if you don't learn it, you'll be left behind.
It's kind of scary, but also kind of exciting.
Definitely. It's like we're on the verge of this massive shift, and we get to be a part of it.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Is AI really all sunshine and roses?
Well, no, of course not. There are definitely risks and challenges that we need to be aware of.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, AI has the potential to be used for malicious purposes, like creating deepfakes or developing autonomous weapons.
Right, and there's also the concern about AI taking away jobs.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Although some experts argue that AI will create more jobs than it destroys.
It's hard to say for sure what the future holds.
It is, but I think the key is to approach AI with a sense of caution and responsibility.
So it's not just about the technical side of things, it's also about the ethical implications.
Exactly. We need to make sure that AI is used for good and not for harm.
That's a really important point. And it brings us back to Ollie's predictions about the future. He's not just talking about technology, he's talking about the future of humanity.
Right, and that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating.
So to bring it back to our listeners again, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this conversation about AI?
The one thing I want them to remember is that the future is not predetermined. We have the power to shape it.
So it's not about passively waiting to see what happens. It's about actively participating in creating the future we want.
Exactly, and that's why understanding trends like the rise of AI is so important. It gives us the knowledge and the tools we need to make informed decisions.
Ollie's predictions about AI geopolitics and specific countries like Bangladesh give us a glimpse into what the future might hold.
Right, it's not just about knowing what might happen, but asking yourself, what role do I want to play in shaping this future?
That's a really powerful question. It really shifts the perspective from being a spectator to being a participant.
And that brings us back to Ollie's emphasis on learning AI skills.
It's not just about learning how to code or build algorithms. It's about understanding how AI is changing the world and how you can use it to your advantage.
It's about embracing a mindset of continuous learning and adaptability.
Because the world is changing faster than ever before, and the skills that are valuable today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly. So whether you're a student, a professional, or just someone who's curious about the future, take Ollie's advice to heart.
Start exploring those AI tools, even if it's just for 30 minutes a day.
Because that small investment of time today could lead to a future full of possibilities.
So it sounds like we're at a crossroads. The world is changing rapidly, driven by forces like AI and shifting global powers. The future is uncertain, but it's also full of potential.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so exciting. We get to be a part of shaping that future.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
But before we get too lost in contemplation, let's take a quick break and come back to wrap up this episode with some final thoughts and takeaways. Welcome back to the show. We've covered a lot of ground today, talking about AI and geopolitics and all these forces that are going to shape the world in 2025 and beyond. It's a lot to process. So I think now is a good time to kind of step back and ask, okay, so what does all this mean for me?
That's the big question, right? Like, how do we take all this information and actually apply it to our lives?
Exactly. So if you could give our listeners just one piece of advice based on everything we've discussed, what would it be?
I would say don't be afraid to embrace the unknown.
Okay, I like that. Expand on that a little bit.
Well, the world is changing so fast.
Yeah.
Right. And that can be scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it also creates so many new opportunities.
Yeah, for those who are willing to adapt and learn.
Right. It's about having that growth mindset, not getting stuck in old ways of thinking.
So true. And that applies to everything we've talked about today, from learning new skills like AI to just staying informed about what's happening in the world.
Exactly, because these global events, they can have a real impact on our lives, even if we don't realize it.
Right, like all these predictions about the US and China and the war in Ukraine and the Middle East, all of that points to a world that's in constant flux.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, but I think the more we understand about these trends, the better equipped we'll be to make good decisions.
Decisions about our careers, our finances, even our personal lives.
Exactly. It's about taking control of our future rather than just letting it happen to us.
And remember Ollie's emphasis on learning AI skills. That's a perfect example of being proactive, right? By investing in yourself and developing these in-demand skills, you're setting yourself up for success.
And it's not just about surviving. It's about thriving in this new world.
So to wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with a few key takeaways. First, the world is changing rapidly, and it's being driven by these powerful forces like AI and these shifts in global power.
Second, these changes create both challenges and opportunities.
And it's up to each of us to decide how we want to navigate them.
And finally, the key to success in this uncertain future is to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and adaptability.
Well said. So go out there, stay curious, stay informed, and keep shaping the future you want to see.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.